Now this is a combination video because some time has passed, really a day, but I've done two things and I want to demo them both at once. As you can see, with its very bright picture, I have the 1980 Sears turned on. I have it all polished up, but on top is a part 2 of the Sanyo Betacord VCR4400. It's all hooked up, clock is set. And here's a couple of notes about this TV set first. Up close, I remember back in the day when these kind of TVs were really high end and kind of, not many people had digitally tuned sets like this. And this channel 03 here just looks so cool and well done. And this, I like how they have the S&R Sears and Roebuck solid state. It does have a light sensor, which does, you might not be able to tell, but yeah, it's not showing up on the camera. But and this big space next to it is a remote sensor, which I'll demo in a minute. It does say remote control channel touch. The cool part about that is, in my other room, the 1990 Sears, which I'll show in a second, here's its remote. And when I remember when I got my 90 Sears, my first TV, back when I was 8 years old, I always loved, you don't see this on too many modern things after the 80s, it's that really fancy cursive writing. This is the remote from my 1990 Sears. Now let me see if it actually works the volume on this set. No, it doesn't work. It's a different code. But that 1990 Sears is a Sanyo chassis for US picture tube and assembled in the US just like this TV. As you can see, we'll open up this little panel here. It has one button color. As the 1990 Sears, they just called it OBC, one button color. It has fine-tuning controls, something you don't see on later model digital tuned sets. Though I had a 2000 model Sony VCR that allowed you to do manual fine-tuning, which I thought was odd. And here are your controls: color, tint, brightness, vertical hold, contrast, and sharpness, all precisely adjusted, and the tone control. And that's pretty much it. It's pretty basic, straightforward, but very, well done. And I polished all this with Novus just as well, nice and shiny. Which in this room here, here's my 1990 Sears. And this isn't about it, just a quick overview of what's going on here. This was my first TV. This was our first VHS VCR, bought in 1991. And below it's the Sony Super Beta SL100, all original. I'll make a video on this some other day. And that's it. Well, I do know what the remote for this TV does look like because I found it on a tabletop high-end Sears branded set. It looks identical to this front layout. It looks just like that. It's a very square, wide remote with the keypad, volume up and down, and power on the remote as well. It is infrared, and here's my setup here. Comcast no longer broadcasts any analog. Period. I went to hook this TV up, nothing. It just gave me a warning saying I need a converter box, or transport adapter as they call it, because it doesn't have TV guide or anything built in. It's a little dinky thing. Look at that. And with its remote, power button doesn't work, so that's only one of the codes. I don't have to try more codes, but I do have full volume control.
Wait a minute. Could it be?
Now, not much is on right now. And I'm not really big into anime.
Is it possible she has a connection with this blossom?
And of course, let me see what I can tune to here.
Makes it very hard to get a good cheek on the stock here.
This TV is very bright. I have the contrast turned down. I'm trying to make sure the camera's shutter doesn't mess up. Let me try adjusting this. I adjusted my shutter speed on the camera. Let's try.
The slightest change in pressure could affect, the outcome.
That's at 60, 160 right now. So this is what the TV looks like. In person, it's much better what you see on the camera. It's very bright, very crisp. The one thing I will complain about Comcast or like any digital format, they compress it too much. The picture is definitely not as sharp as an analog source. As they over compress it, it's like half the resolution on standard def. And on top of that, you can tell the compression. I see a lot of blocky noise. And it's like that on all the channels. And the thing is, if you were to play these channels on a high-def TV, you might as well forget it. It looks like absolute garbage. So it definitely looks far better on this, on this. But this TV, it's fantastic picture.
Except for I don't have to pretend to like her friend.
I mean, I am so happy right now.
Wiped out.
I love this TV. This TV has major sentimental value. Oh, I gotta explain that about the sentimental value. This is very similar to my parents' first TV. It was an '83. Well, here, let me show you. This is from the 1980 Sears catalog. This is almost identical to my parents' first TV, except the cabinet had a little different pattern. But other than that, it's identical. Had that 3-button remote and the picture tube, and up there it said sensor scan. It was laid out identically. This was our first TV. And although I swear theirs had to be like an '82 model, but still, let's see how much is that. $699 in 1980. You can count for inflation, but one thing people got to realize is back then when you bought a TV or anything, you bought it, and it was good quality, and it wasn't designed to break like today's garbage. And I could go on for hours on that subject. So this TV is pretty much very similar to my parents' first TV. That TV I showed had varactor diode electronic tuning. This was a higher end TV with a full-out digital tuner, but it's not cable ready, but still full-out digital tuner. The back of the TV is identical to their TV. I remember that. And the best part about this TV is it has a hi-fi amp in it. I mean, this TV performs. I'm very impressed with it. And the thing to top it off, this Sanyo Betacord. This was my parents' first VCR, as I mentioned, so for me, this is a major nostalgia trip here. And I no longer have the beta tape for it, but I'm going to make it because I have it on another format. Remember, there's a thing called the Bugs Bunny and Roadrunner movie. I used to have that tape, and I used to play it all the time my grandfather came over on this VCR. Even as, like I said, when I was 2, 3 years old, I used to use the VCR. It was very simple as this. You press power, push it in, put the tape in, press play, and we watched. So I'm going to dub it over. I'm actually going to make a bunch of tapes on this VCR here. Well, there's nothing on TV tonight worth showing.
Something else that might surprise you. Now get a 2012 Santa Fe for 0% APR or lease one for $269 a month and get a $750 competitive owner coupon. But only at your local Hyundai dealer.
The one thing I'm going to mention, I have another ulterior motive for getting this all set up, and this is going to be my retro gaming room. In these, now the white bounces off, that's because of my camera, but again, all these boxes here, everything from, I have an NES, SNES, N64, GameCube, and a Genesis, and I'm probably going to buy more systems users, but all these are my original consoles, mint. I just got to fix them up. And this TV with its excellent audio, this is going to be beautiful in here. I mean, I'm going to get a reclining chair, and I'm going to have a shelving unit that goes all the way up to the ceiling here. It's going to be awesome. Okay, very basic machine. This was a low-end Sanyo for that era, but still works perfectly to this day. And let's see. These are mechanical push buttons. Press power. The TV blanked out for a sec because I actually have the tuner programmed. The tuner works fine. See, I put on 2. That's right before, but I think whoever owned this VCR before never even set the tuner on this. But varactor diode tuning, and it's real easy to set. But this is like one step below having a full-out digital tuner back in the day. It's mechanical, like I said, but it works just fine. And you have record, rewind, play, fast forward, stop, and pause. And your speed selector, beta 2 and beta 3. And that's pretty much it. There's your tracking control right here on its center detent position. And from downstairs, it's like it's all shinied up. This is what it looks like behind the TV. And we got that little dinky cable box. Everything's plugged in, surge strip, cable box coming out of the wall. Now, I've played this, what I'm going to show you, I've played this before on any of my videos, and I'm sorry if I'm repeating, but this is a major nostalgia trip for me because this very tape I'm going to play was recorded on our Betacord, this exact model, back in 1984 of the Filmation version of Tom and Jerry plus Bugs Bunny and Roadrunner show on the Saturday Supercade on CBS. Couple that with this TV, oh boy. So let's do that. So, tape's already in its position because really this was erased with some movies on it. And it was at the end, and I found it one day. I'm like, oh, no way. That was back in the late 90s, and I spazzed out about it. So, power's on. It goes up. Make this nice and quick, and I'm going to press play. I'm going to watch the tape load. Perfect. Just tracking. A little bit off from our Betacord, but damn, this thing has really rich colors. Now, I will note, you gotta take a couple things into account here. This was recorded off a cable TV system back then. And it has a little bit of interference noise in there. I remember we always had a problem with CBS in our first house, even at Pap's house. But yeah, this is a beta 3 tape, which is the slowest speed on a beta. But even still, it's far better than a VHS. Even the audio is still pretty good. I know this still airs on Boomerang, and if you were to compare, the versions they air on Boomerang are washed out. And if you also remember, I have this on 16mm, not this episode, but this version. So, there's the Betacord working just fine. Let's do a quick thing here. You have, this is pause. It's just a 2-head unit. Alright, my camera focusing. Come on. Hang on, we got issues here. There we go. Okay. There's pause. And it does have some forward surge functions, which does sound pretty cool if you heard that. I'm not changing the settings on the television, but the picture's far sharper than the Comcast digital signal. This video cassette is 28 years old recording. No dropouts whatsoever. And it's like a long forgotten tape that, you know, I keep watching over and over, but now it's like really affecting me because this is the original setup here. I don't think my parents ever turned a tape counter on. Okay, let's try another tape here. Turn the volume down first on the TV. And we hit stop. Yeah, the loading motor before, if the old belt wasn't working, it just would sit there, go and run and shut off. But I need to return, so I'm going to put on memory, hit rewind. Very fast responding. Okay. Let's see, reset memory, and bam. And I got this Radio Shack branded tape, most likely a Sony. I bought in 2001. It has the newer style, like the Betacam tapes. Another cartoon, but this is another thing I've been watching a lot recently on DVD. I made this recording about 7 years ago on my Sony Super Beta SL100. That VCR doesn't even have line level inputs. I just threw RF. It was from the DVD 2 Beta, and it was pictures fantastic on it. Heathcliff and the Cadillac Cats. So let's do this real quick. Okay, adjusted that, and I think I recorded on Beta 2, so oh, that sounds really good. This is really bad, nostalgia right here.
Well, there goes the theory that cats always land on their feet.
Those fellows are a disgrace to cats everywhere. The time has come to expel those ruffians from our park. Please, gentlemen, you're spoiling my concentration. Oh.
It's so shiny, it's reflecting the whole room off of it.
That does it.
Right there. I gotta take a break from all this. I've been waiting for you. Let's go.
4. Okay, I've been in the, since I bought it on Blu-ray. Now I'm in the mood to watch our copy of Lethal Weapon 2's on this tape. It didn't write it on top. It was recorded on the Sony Super Beta SL330, which was my parents' VCR. And it was recorded off HBO on Beta 3. But let's fast forward to it. Now the one thing is about this tape, VCR being has the old style tape counter. That was the one thing about Beta, in addition, because it's weird about this Sanyo. Sony Betas always kept the tape fully loaded. Because unlike VHS, it's much less turns in the tape. It's not as harmful. That's why VHS always had to unwind the tape. This Sanyo always unwinds the tape as soon as you press stop. So there is no linear time counter. Just a plain old tape counter. So I'm going to have to take a guess and just watch the window on this. See, it's running in fast forward mode. That's the one thing I love about top loaders. Is the ability just to look down and see the tape moving. And even some of the early front loaders had windows on top of the VCR so you could look down at the tape too. I mean, whatever happened to that? I mean, once you get out of the 80s, everything just went cheap. The 80s, just great. I mean, this was a cheap VCR, but it's still a pretty well-made unit. I mean, this is what I had to do tonight to get it going again. Just put new belts in, just to do the idler tire change and everything. It was easy, very, very easy. Well, I'm approximately where I need to be at on the tape. As you can see, press play.
USA world premiere movie. Coming up next.
Murder, She Wrote. Yeah, what is with Murder She Wrote? Does that woman just have such bad luck, or everywhere there's a... I wouldn't want to live in her town.
The following movie is rated R.
You really are a beautiful man. Give us a kiss before they come. Yeah. But where'd I put hit you anyway?
This is recorded on Beta 2. This is a perfect example. This is recorded in 1996 on my Sony Super Beta SL100 Super Beta mode. Beta 2. I wanted to see what a video game would look like on this TV. And it's perfect. This is going to be an excellent gaming set. Since I remember that these... Checking out, watching TV in here too. Check that out. She's stretching. What are you doing, Kylie? Man, this is obsessive. I've been watching TV in here all weekend. It's nice to be watching a TV on actual real TV. Hello. Well, VCR's cooled off a bit. and it really is 4 in the morning, is this vintage VCR cover. And it makes it special is this was our VCR cover. My mom bought this VCR cover in 1984 specifically for this VCR. Now, being it's a universal fit, obviously it's a bit larger than the actual Sanyo here. Okay, I just polished it up with some Vinyl X and Novus on the front, so it's all shiny. But yeah, that VCR cover has been with me all my life too, pretty much. And the truth is, it migrated from the Betacord to the SL100, which after when I got my own room in '89 with the SL100 in it, I had a TV cabinet, so it was no longer used. My parents never used it on the SL330, and pretty much every VCR we owned after that was, you know, modern. It was smaller, of course, but anyhow, yeah, this VCR cover is special, and that plus, I mean, it's definitely early '80s because look, it's brown and tan and all that stuff. It makes it unique, not the boring, dull black, gray, and white everything is today. So, to conclude tonight, I will be shutting the TV off. Hit power button,